Okay, Ken, I want to take you to one of the bigger problems we have in the sport, and I call it a John problem. Fisher and Angelos, two of really the worst owners of any businesses really out there, aside from just sports. I'll say it. I don't care. I mean, they're everything that is wrong with baseball, the business of baseball, the game of baseball, right? So you just wrote about John Angelos, Baltimore Orioles owner, who whenever he talks, everyone gets dumber. And he spoke basically, in my mind, so that he could play some defense as to why the Orioles are not going to extend this young core. They've been tanking and not spending any money for years. They're still not really spending money. They profit their asses off. Let him come out and say otherwise to me. He won't. He'll never show his books like he always says. If you're so poor, sell the team. So that's me, and that's what I get. And those are my feelings when I read your article about what John Angelo said. What do you think? And did he talk so that he could play defense like that in your mind? Because the Orioles are going to have this fun 3 year window, and then people are going to start leaving or getting traded.
I don't know what he was thinking when he said what he did to Tyler Kepner of the New York Times. To me, those comments were inaccurate because they can afford players. And as I mentioned in the article, the Tampa Bay Rays signed Wander Franco for 182 million dollars. The same offseason, they offered Freddie Freeman 150 million dollars. That's the Tampa Bay Rays. These things are possible even for teams where the revenue isn't quite as high. The Orioles are doing just fine. According to Forbes, and granted, we don't know if Forbes has access exact numbers, but generally they have pretty good estimates. They had the fourth highest profits in the game last year. And if they weren't fourth highest, maybe they were 10th highest. They're getting money from all over the place. And of course, they had a $42 million payroll or whatever it was last season. So you've been saving money these last few years while tanking. And now you're saying, sorry, we can't keep Adley Rushman long term. We can't keep Gunnar Henderson long term. Well, guess what? The Braves have done it, and they've done it by striking early with players like Michael Harris II and Spencer Strider. I'm not saying Rushman or Henderson would take those deals, but if you try, you can get them at a better rate than you'll get them when they have a year of arbitration left before free agency. So don't tell me, and don't tell your fans, more importantly, that this is not possible. It's possible. And don't blame the system when you've profited from that system. That system has served you quite well in a financial aspect. So those comments to me were wrongheaded, and they distracted from what has been and continues to be an amazing season for his team. And why you would want to go there at this stage, I have no idea. Now, keep in mind, they are negotiating a lease with the state of Maryland. Their lease at Camden Yards expires December 31st. And perhaps he was thinking of using this for leverage and saying, hey, we need more money. You're not getting more money. The state of Maryland is going to give the Baltimore Orioles, as they gave the Baltimore Ravens, $600 million for ballpark upgrades the moment they sign the lease. The Ravens have signed it, the Orioles have not. In this day and age, when public money is so hard to come by, I'm not sure what more you can ask for it in a legitimate way.
Well said. And also on the front of, like, say, Forbes doing their homework, they can see a lot of what the Braves are doing. It's a publicly traded team. So you can see
Yes.
many books and see how well these franchises are doing. So John Angelos, you can't hide anywhere. He's full of shit. It's
And
fraudulent, the
again, if
comments
you,
that they made.
Scott, if the Orioles or any other team wants to say, "Oh, Forbes is making this up," that's fine. Let's see your books, and they won't show us their books. We all know that they're private companies; they don't have to do that. But when you just continually knock down reports like that from a reputable publication, there's no question Forbes is that. Well, you have no credibility in this argument. You can't point to facts that indicate otherwise. And we'd all welcome that if that was true and what he's saying is indeed a problem for the Orioles or the Guardians or any other team. Okay, that's fine. But let's see it. The other thing, and I mentioned this in the article too, the Orioles were bought for $173 million in 1993 by Peter Angelos, John's father. They are now worth, according to Forbes, 1.7 billion. That's an increase of 890%. Now, when you talk to Major League Baseball about this, they'll always say, well, that doesn't count. They have to run the team based on the money that they're taking it. I get that. And it's like when you sell a house, you have to wait until the end. You're not living off what you're going to sell the house for in the future. But at the same time, my goodness, that asset has increased in value in a way that really you can't get even in the best stocks. So we're all kind of tired of hearing the poor mouthing. And that's why I said at the end of the article, enough of the poor mouthing, sell the team if this is the way you see it.
I'm wearing the shirt
Just
today. It's not orange, but it can really accomplish the same thing.
it
You might make
accomplishes
him
the
in
same
orange
thing.
soon.
Yep, you're
They
right.
they might make it orange. So this might be a comment or a question that hamstrings both of us because we want these owners to talk, and I've called for these owners to talk. Should he just shut up, or because he was quiet for so many years, and he came out to ridicule a writer, Dan Connolly, and then he went back in, and now all of a sudden he wants is this talking more because they're good, or because he's just posturing for this whole ballpark renovation thing?
Well, it's a good question, Eric. And Dan Connolly, my friend, he used to be with The Athletic. He originally wrote, I don't know, maybe about a year ago, that John Angelos needs to talk. He needs to come out and say some things and address some issues. And now we kind of wish he wouldn't keep talking. But I am always in favor, as a journalist, of people talking. You always want to hear from people. But if you're John Angelos and if you're his public relations people, maybe it's better if he stops talking because every time he opens his mouth, it seems there is another controversy that erupts. And also in the New York Times article, we might as well mention it. He said the Kevin Brown situation is something that shouldn't have happened and will never happen again. He runs the Orioles. He runs the Orioles regional television network. If this happened, it did happen, he's the one responsible. There's no running from that. So again, he does nobody in his organization any good when he comes out with comments like that. You can see right through them. And that's why I wrote what I did, because I felt it needed to be said that what he was saying is just not proper, not right.